Hello class, my name is David Grimm, and my creative story is about animal cloning to solve the global biodiversity problem that many species are facing today. Humanity over the past several centuries has diminished environments of many animals through habitat loss, pollution, overpopulation, hunting, and more. And the myth of my story comes in as scientists find that the best way to solve this issue is through cloning. So let's go through a brief overview of my paper. As I said previously, my paper starts off with the dilemma of having to deal with issues such as the major loss of biodiversity or variety of species and life on Earth, as ecosystems that humanity depends on cannot survive if large levels of biodiversity are lost. Due to this major world-level threat, the best team of scientists the U.S. could create began to investigate this issue. This team involved in avenging the loss or nearly extinct keystone species vital to environments worldwide were known as the Avengers. No, not these Avengers. The real heroes. Anyways, the team started their investigation in my first body paragraph with finding out how vital these keystone species are, which turns out is very important, but I will touch on that later. My final portion of my paper deals with how the investigating team of scientists found that using cloning technology was the best way to solve and save the world's problems from losing these keystone species that are more often than not apex predators. So, keystone species are species that are vital to ecosystems. Without keystone species, an ecosystem could be entirely different or cease to exist altogether. Knowing this, the aforementioned Avengers delved deep into the subject to find that research had been previously done on two keystone species, shown here, the sea star Pisaster aucratus and the gray wolf. It was discovered by Dr. Robert Payne in the 1990s that this sea star's presence was so vital that without it, mussels became overpopulated in the tidal pools off the coast of Washington state, and soon after, half of the biodiversity in the tidal pool was gone. Similarly, in the case of the gray wolf studied in Yellowstone, without the gray wolf, elk became overpopulated and soon, due to overgrazing, plants did not have time to grow, and many animals that depended on various plant life were no longer seen. Even streams were affected, as less and less plants held the soil together, making the streams full of sediment. So knowing this, the team's thought process led them to cloning, since these keystone species are scarce and in high demand. Once again, cloning was researched, and the method on how to clone organisms was found. The team came across experiments done since the 1990s where organisms were cloned using somatic cells. Somatic cells can be virtually any part of an organism except for sperm and egg cells or gametes, and through transporting DNA to an empty egg cell, a clone can be produced as seen by the diagram on the right. Since these clones can be made in a lab, genetic diversity and biodiversity of these species populations can be achieved, which led to the conclusion that cloning is the best way to ensure survival of keystone species, and thus biodiversity, which was the problem the scientists were trying to solve, which is where my paper concluded. So thank you for listening, guys, and I appreciate it. Thank you.